Welcome to Side Effects, Effect versus Affect. It's hard to know the difference. At McGohan Brabender, our goal is to provoke you to think differently about employee benefits, your employees, and the status quo. That's why it's Side Effects with an A. Join me, Kenzie McEvily, an MB co-host and one of the industry's brightest guests, to dive deep into the process of good employee benefits. Let's get started. Question: how many technological gadgets do you use each day? Are you still counting? We're so dependent on technology, we cannot escape doing anything efficiently without it. As of late, the world is going custom. Nike was the first organization to create mass customization in 1999 with Nike ID, and since then, the world has followed suit. You can personalize almost anything, from simple apparel and jewelry to high-tech medical implants and pharmaceuticals. Then, some people began asking, why not our communication? And even, how about your employee benefits? These questions lead us to our guest, Chief Executive Officer at Dayton-based ConsumerOptix, James O'Hara. James is a graduate of Northwestern University and started his career with Procter & Gamble. He went on to co-found two leading CRM and personalized media firms in Chicago and is a veteran in the insurance and financial services consumer communications field. He has patented technology on personalized consumer communications. And today, we'll learn why tailoring information is crucial and how his patented technology is changing how companies operate. Welcome, James. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Side Effects. I have a special co-host here today, Dave Homan, our Director of Strategy and Innovation.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Happy to be on this side of the camera for a change.
Yes, and I thought you were the perfect addition to today's show because you're kind of a thought leader in the technology space as well. So I appreciate you joining us with our other thought leader here, James. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Kenzie. Great to be here.
Yes. So actually, we are in a different location than normal. Normally, we're in our studio in our Dayton office. Dave, can you share why we are not there today?
Yeah, we are down actually in the tank at the arcade, the newly renovated arcade. Absolutely amazing place. And we're here today because we're actually taping two shows. Our next one is our 100th episode of Side Effects. And so we needed to go big or go home. And so we're down at the tank, and James has an office right here in the arcade. It's the most spectacular view you've ever seen. So we said, hey, James, can we use the tank? And of course, James came through as he always does for us.
Absolutely. So tell us about your business that is here in the hub and what you do at ConsumerOptix, James.
Sure. ConsumerOptix was founded 3 years ago, 2018, August 2018, as a firm which is basically designed to help the age-old insurance industry, these big carriers, better understand and connect with consumers and employees. So the name ConsumerOptix really means being able to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and understand how they think. And my partner, Brian Kipp, and I felt that over the years, there's not been a great understanding and connection between the insurance carriers and employees and consumers.
Yeah, but James, you just don't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to do communication in the insurance industry. I mean, that is the dream for everyone out there. But you have a very interesting journey here. I think your background, you dabbled in politics, you were did some work with Facebook. Can you talk a little bit about the path that got you here?
Sure. Something you and I have talked about many times, Dave, is that one size does not fit all. And to really engage with a consumer and employee, you have to understand kind of what makes them tick. So over the years, we have deployed strategies including personalized interactive media and consumer insights, which I've learned a lot from you about, and really bringing those two things together to more effectively engage with the consumer and the employee.
So how does some of your past experience tie into that? I guess, like, really, how did our paths cross? And I think it's really interesting for our listeners about your background.
Sure. So started off, this is my third technology startup. Started two in Chicago. First was a CRM company. The second was a personalized interactive media company. And kind of where we got to where we are today really is working with you and Scott McGohan. We did that great project with Unum in which we leveraged psychographics from C to B, now patient bond, to help employees better understand voluntary benefits, including life insurance, but leveraging personalized interactive video and consumer insights to deliver a unique message, a one-to-one personalized message, to make sure that the employee has the right information and can make smart decisions for their family.
How did you land into this? It's such a niche market, and it's like you said, it's the dream. Everyone wants to be in insurance and communication. So how did that speak to you? And you were like, we need to fix this.
I don't know if everyone wants to be in insurance. I found myself at a life insurance conference. I found myself at a life insurance conference 2 years ago, and I thought to myself, how did I get here? Where did my career go astray?
You're on your dream vacation.
No, but I think the reality is, again, with my last two firms, working with financial services companies, banks, insurance organizations, both carriers and distributors, we realized that as great as their products were, and as outstanding and how much thought they put into creating products, whether it's life insurance or disability or voluntary benefits, worksite benefits, as great as these products were, when it came time for the employee or the consumer at the point of sale to make that decision, do I want to purchase or not, there really was a disconnect. And again, it was what Dave and I have talked about so many times, this, hey, let's have one message, let's deliver that message and hope that it's going to resonate with all employees and consumers. In reality, it just doesn't work that way,
right.
Particularly in today's world where millennials and Gen Z demand choice, they demand personalized one-to-one engagement.
So I guess, do we have the millennials and Gen Z to blame or thank with all this? Are we better off or worse off with many? I mean, I think it's easier one message, but we've learned that no longer works.
Exactly. I think we have to thank them. There's no question about it. And it's not just the concept of having different messages for every employee and consumer, but also it's understanding how the world has changed. Dave, when you and I were in high school, we probably remember having our insurance person come into our home and sell us our policies, or even going to the agency. And even look at the world of benefits today, where the employee benefits company would go into the group, the company, in a conference room. And I think the other big change is this digitalization of delivery of employee benefits and consumer life insurance and things like disability. And so I think we have them to thank to help lead this way and saying we have to understand how they want to consume and how they want to purchase.
So what do you think has changed all that? Not just that it's a younger generation, is it because they're native to technology, apps, choices?
I think that's exactly right. I look at my four children, they were born with cell phones. They all got a cell phone in 6th grade. When you and I were born, there was no such thing as a cell phone, right? We were actually in the working world before we had our first cell phone. So this is what they were born with. They were born with the internet. So this is how they are operating on social media. And frankly, it's how they're making purchases today, right? People, are buying houses online. They're buying cars online. And health benefits and voluntary benefits and consumer life insurance is really no different.
So you've talked at a very high level about what you do, but maybe talk our listeners through the process and the steps and I guess the experience, because it's one thing to say, well, we have customized messages and it speaks to who you are and what you do, but walk our listeners through the experience.
Sure. So again, ConsumerOptix is focused on two sides, both the sale of individual life insurance and disability insurance, and then working with companies like McGohan Brabender to deliver employees group benefits. So I think the first part of that step, Dave, and again, these are things that you and I have worked on in the past, is understanding who is that consumer, who is that employee. And certainly we know demographically who they are. We know their gender, we know their age, we know oftentimes their income, we know where they live. And then things like psychographics, where we can either ask a series of questions or use third-party data to get a better understanding about what makes this person tick. And then what we can do is create a one-to-one experience using personalized interactive video to not just greet that employee by name or maybe even put their employer's logo on the video, but to change the actual message, the script, and talk to a 25-year-old different than a 40-year-old with 4 children and differently than a 60-year-old who is an empty nester.
And we found so much success in our department with that. We love customizing videos to every client, every age group, if you're in manufacturing or if you're in insurance. Like, it is just the success rate of customization is so important. So do you have any good examples of a success story where we've customized a message for somebody?
Sure. Certainly right now we're doing that in the sale of life insurance. And we see a really big opportunity, for example, in helping your traditional home and auto personal lines insurance agent to sell also life insurance. And the great thing is they know so much about them. My auto and home insurance agent knows obviously about myself and my wife, but as my children have come on board to need car insurance, he knows their names, he knows their birth dates. And so what we've seen is great success in enabling the insurance distribution industry, namely agents and brokers, to engage with family members based on leveraging data and understanding where are they at in life. And so if I've got a 16-year-old who's just become a auto policy insurance policy member, I know that probably in 2 years he's going to college, right? And so to be able to understand the dynamics of that family and communicate relevant messaging that's also personalized has been incredibly successful in engaging with those family members.
Yeah. What I really like about it too is you're really starting to dabble, and I know you get a trigger for James is talk about artificial intelligence, and James has very strong thoughts on that. What really is AI and what's out there? But what I think where you are broaching right now is it's not just showing them information, not just leading the horse to water. You're to the point where you're starting to make recommendations based on your situation, based on the fact that you just got married, based on the fact that you're having a child. We recommend this specific policy because when it comes to benefits, it's very intimidating. And I've been in meetings before where employees will sit there and they'll nod like they're understanding. Then after the meeting, they'll come up and they'll say, so which plan should I be in? And you are actually to the point where you're using data to drive those decisions and make recommendations.
Yeah, it's actually a term called decision support. And I think giving employees and consumers choice is really important, but making a recommendation that's based on data has been incredibly helpful in making them feel good about what they're purchasing, and knowing that there is a reason why a certain amount of life insurance is being recommended or a certain amount of disability insurance. The reality is most people really don't understand what their coverages they have until it's too late. And so I think decision support and even to some degree artificial intelligence helps consumers and employees make better choices and better decisions.
As a millennial, I can say I 100% agree with that. I love the choices, and I also love you telling me what I should pick. So that's very helpful. Yes, decision support.
So as you get into this more and more, because you were an outsider coming in, you are not native to insurance. What surprised you the most about being in this industry?
I think the biggest surprise is how far behind the insurance industry as a whole has been in technology and digital engagement. Financial services in general, banking, mortgages, way ahead. Traditional media, way ahead. And I think it's taken a while for. Look at the term insurtech. We consider, ConsumerOptix is a software as a service insurtech firm. And the term insurtech really didn't come about till about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago at the most. And so it's a sign that the industry as a whole has really been a little bit further behind the rest of the other industries in adopting digital engagement.
Why do you think that is relative to other industries, if you had to make a guess?
I really don't know. It's an age-old industry, right? It's an industry in which there are things you have to have, right? You have to have medical insurance, you have to have home insurance, you have to have auto insurance, and so there hasn't been the need to have new ways, new techniques to advance something you have to have. But with individual life insurance, that's an option. Voluntary benefits, by their nature, they're voluntary. So there's this gap between helping people understand what they have and what they need. And I think the industry is finally realizing we can move the needle. We can leverage technology and digitization to move that needle to get better adoption.
I feel that, like we were saying, how the industry is so traditional, and you used to be handed a big fat booklet and you'd flip through it once a year when you needed the information you needed. And now all the information's at our fingertips. What are some things that customers are requesting? Do they want apps? Do they want a website to go to, or what are you seeing?
Well, I would say both.
Mm-hmm.
And the days of those big fat booklets are definitely over. I think there might.
We have a few. We have a few still.
I was going to say, I bet you there are probably still a few in MV's offices. But of course, both those things. I think it's 24/7 access. It's the ability to get information without having to pick up the phone or send an email, to be able to use your phone or your tablet or your home computer to get relevant, meaningful, compatible information to help you make a decision at 10:30 at night without ever having to speak with anyone.
What's been your biggest disappointment to this point with working in the industry? Is it the carrier's reluctance to try something new, to go in a different direction? Are you trying to move a glacier? Where's your frustration?
Yeah, so just in a couple meetings with some very large carriers, even this week, the industry as a whole is in different states. So the biggest carriers, the biggest insurance carriers, particularly in life, where they are in meeting the consumer from a technological perspective is completely different. And some are very advanced, and some have done really good things with building out APIs to allow companies like ConsumerOptix to engage with them directly. There's others that are so far behind, they're using really old technologies or no technology. There are firms that are still using paper as they did 20 years ago. So I think our biggest frustration is having to engage with really large behemoth insurance companies, all in different ways because they're all at different spots in that digital revolution, or evolution, I should say. And hopefully ConsumerOptix can help act as a kind of unifier and help the ones that are a little bit further behind catch up with those that are kind of in a leading spot position.
Yeah, and I would have to say I've been surprised that things have not moved a little quicker. We first met each other back, I believe it was right after Obamacare.
Yep.
Was passed, and the first project that we worked on together was, we thought we were going to our industry would change overnight, because you went from a model where it was, from McGohan Brabender, one account team taking care of 1,000 employees all collectively together, to a point where with the Obamacare, the affordability, the subsidies, do you stay in the marketplace, do you not? Where it was suddenly going, we needed 1,000 individual one-on-one meetings, and we knew that was a pretty big project to lift. So our first project together was using variable data technology, tables, and I believe an algorithm where we had 750 different possible choose your own adventure stories that guided them through the process.
Yeah, and the Affordable Care Act is a perfect example of leveraging technology and digital technology to engage with employees and consumers. Why? Because no one understood what that meant. Even people in the industry, and the terms change. Remember, Dave, the terms change, in Washington all the time in terms of the components of these different Affordable Care Act components. So engaging with employees and consumers to help them really understand something that no one understood was a challenge, and we continue to see that. I always say this: go into a restaurant, ask the first 10 people you see, what's the difference between a term policy and a whole policy? What is critical illness insurance? What is a GUL or an IUL? Most Americans don't know, and so that is our challenge right now, is to work with the carriers and the distributors, employee benefits brokers, the broker general agents, the independent insurance agents, to bridge that gap between really amazing insurance products and their understanding to make the best decisions for their families.
And as we talk about some positives and negatives here, one of the positives, as we mentioned, was one of the softwares that we've created as a team with you is AccelerateGo. And I feel like I've taken some of that on, so I'm very close with that software, and I know how much time it saves our HR professionals and our C-suite, and that's a huge benefit of it. And I know when I first started here 3 years ago, that was the first project Dave had told me. He's like, we're going to have this new automated communication distribution platform. It's going to be amazing. And what are some other benefits you've seen besides saving time for the HR teams? What other benefits does this software have?
Sure. I think, the video that you did that's on your website about AccelerateGo does a really good job of explaining it, and the ability to set up a program in November and December and plan it out for the next calendar year and let it run is great, and certainly the ability to adopt it. We're finding that we can do even more with the technology. So for example, a birthday video. You upload a file that has everyone's birthday in it in a particular column, and just let it run over the course of the year, and the CEO or whomever, the president of the company or a celebrity can engage with employees, or maybe a work anniversary, right? You put that data in there and you get a video that says, congratulations on your 5th year anniversary with a company, or 10-year anniversary, or 1st year anniversary. So I think people enjoy, and particularly video, I think is a really good medium today, but employees and consumers care about being connected with, and AccelerateGo affords groups and insurance agents to engage with their customers on a regular basis without them having to lift a finger.
Yeah, and what I love about that, and I love working on this project with ConsumerOptix, is we always have the yeah and conversations. I think it started out, how can we send out text messages? Oh, we can do that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and could we also do a voicemail for someone?
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and could we do video, picture-rich emails? And every time we come back to you, you get as excited about it as we do, because it's just another way to engage deeper with that person, figure out what they like, what they prefer, how they're wired, because when it comes time to make those critical decisions, we know exactly how to reach them to be effective.
It seems like whenever I'm in my car and I get a phone call from you, you're the king of yeah, and. You're like, yeah. I've got it, James. I got the next thing that we can do. And I'm like, Dave, that's great. Let's start building it.
Yeah.
Well, just for an example, is the time. We can schedule the date and time. And I know with all of the clients I work with, they're constantly adjusting it. They're like, oh, they have their lunch hour at 11:05. Let's change it to that.
Right.
Or, oh, they're home with their family at 7:15. Let's have this go out then.
Sure.
And that just, the customization is incredible. And I feel so good when I'm like, sure, I can do that for you at the click of a button. Save it. Everyone's done.
And I think being strategy and innovation, we spend our days thinking of new ways to reach our clients, and we come up with 100 ideas a day. The real trick is to figure out what will make a difference and what will be consumed and engaged by our clients. And I would say that probably from our perspective, AccelerateGo has been an absolute grand slam, because it fit a need to pull work off their desk, but at the same time engage their workforce, and being able to report back to HR, here's who's engaging, here's what they prefer, here's what they don't like.
Right.
And so you are filling a need that has been out there, and it's only going to grow, because HR departments aren't necessarily getting any bigger. They're figuring out how to do more with less.
Yep.
And so that, you hit it out of the ballpark with that.
The analytics component is key, both on the group insurance side and individual insurance side, to understand what's working, where are you getting successes. You can't make good decisions if you don't know what kind of data you have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I do have a question for our listeners. If they want to seek out any other kind of benefit apps or technology that's new and that you like or that you approve of, is there anything they can go research?
Well, again, kind of with two spectrums here on the group side, really amazing technologies in helping employees better understand benefits and sign up and enroll with benefits. But Employee Navigator, Ease, Ben Focus are all examples of technologies that are doing a good job of engaging with employees. On the individual side, certainly there's companies like Ethos and Bestow, which are selling life insurance to qualified people in 10 to 12 minutes. Those are examples of platforms that have partnered with one single carrier. What we're doing with Accelerate on the individual life insurance side is working with many of the top insurance carriers because, again, life insurance having exploded because of COVID, all of that growth is coming from people that are 45 years of age and younger. So offering choice is really important to millennials and Gen Z. And with the consumer life insurance version of Accelerate, we are offering qualified individuals access to instant decision or accelerated underwriting, not just with one carrier, but with multiple carriers, giving those millennials and Gen Z choice in decision making.
Right.
Isn't that a big deal? Because traditionally, insurance companies have only had that flexibility with very large employers, and the smaller employers have just kind of been held hostage with very limited choices. You've opened up new opportunities for them down market.
And what's great, and this is something that we're starting to pilot with, as you well know, Dave, with McGohan Brabender soon. You think about the employee, the employer, and group benefits. Open enrollment is the most important time, right? That's a time when you've got their attention because they have to make decisions on their medical plans. So being able to talk to them also about retirement and voluntary benefits, but even also individual life insurance and individual disability insurance is something we're going to pilot with McGohan Brabender because that is the time they're going to pay attention. If we say, hey, again, you may have group life insurance, you may have $250,000, maybe $500,000. Typically, that's not going to be enough. Let us offer you this opportunity to first maybe go through a calculator, put in some information about your family, and see, is there a gap between what you have and what you need, and then offer Accelerate as a tool to purchase additional life insurance coverage from multiple carriers.
Yeah, and so I know that we see the value, but I think the outside world also sees the value in kind of, you've got something here. Recently, here locally, you're kind of a big deal, James, here.
You're a celebrity.
In the Dayton community. And can you just speak to that for one moment? I know you don't like to pat yourself on the back, but I think it's definitely worth noting that you were recognized as being a pretty big deal.
Well, I appreciate it, and yes, ConsumerOptix won the 2021 Soin Award for Innovation, and I can remember several years ago, maybe a decade ago, first learning about that, thinking, wow, that's a pretty prestigious honor, and seeing the companies that have won that award in the past decade or so and how great they're doing, it's quite humbling and flattering. But I've always said this, Dave, it's because of people like yourself and Scott McGohan, McGohan Brabender, and other clients and partners that we've had that helped us understand opportunity and understand where the needle is, how much room there is to move the needle, and how greatly we can affect moving that needle. And so it's because of companies like McGohan Brabender and yourself that we've been able to seize on an opportunity, and we're very blessed and fortunate to win that award. And I think it does give us some credibility, particularly now as we're going through a capital raise. We feel very, very proud and humbled to have won it.
Did you have a trophy? I wish you could have brought the trophy with you.
It's up on my desk.
Darn it.
I thought it was home in bed. Don't you sleep with it, James?
I do not. I do not.
Eat breakfast with it. Well, congratulations. We're so honored that you joined
Thanks.
us today, too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
As we wrap up here, final question we always like to ask. If you had a crystal ball, where is ConsumerOptix going, and where is the future of this digital customization going?
I think the future of where our organization is providing consumers and employees with the ability to buy life insurance, as I like to say, in 10 to 12 minutes, having choice to do that, and having instant decision, which is possible, but it's just nascent right now.
Right.
And our goal is to become the Amazon of life insurance.
That's a pretty lofty goal.
It is.
I like that.
The great news is the carriers are affording us that chance. They agree with our vision, and that's where we're going to be.
That's incredible. Well, we're excited to be on this journey with you. So if our listeners want to get more information or contact you, how can they do that?
Sure. Our website is ConsumerOptix.com. That's ConsumerOptix as in X-ray.com. And I'm at johara@ConsumerOptix.com.
Well, perfect. Well, James, thank you so much for being here. This was incredible and having us in your space. If you want to get a hold of me or have any questions, you can contact me at Kenzie@healthierbirthdays.com.
Or Dave at healthierbirthdays.com.
And we will see you guys next time on Side Effects.
Thank you.